Good morning.
Happy Wednesday.
Happy Wednesday, y'all. This is the WOW Podcast, WOWW, Wendy's on Wellness Wednesday. I am Dr. Wendy Sue Massey. I'm the owner of Freedom Holistic Wellness. I'm an integrative medicine practitioner, author, homesteader, wife, mom, Gigi, lover of Jesus, lover of all things natural and non-toxic. And here is my amazing bestie, Wendy Flournoy.
Hey guys, Wendy Flournoy, certified hypnotherapist, herbalist, forager, wife, mom, Gigi, owner of the Restoration Garden, lover of all things non-toxic and God-given.
That's right, sister. Well, we're the hat crew today.
Tis the season. Anybody that knows us knows that we've been out in the garden since early this morning with our coffee.
Yes, absolutely. And then I went to the gym and I told Wendy, I said, you know what? It's taken a lot for me because y'all don't understand. I went a long time refusing to do a video or anything unless I had time to do my hair and makeup and all that. It's so dumb. Yeah. It's like, you know what? I'm 52 years old.
And we're the natural girls anyway.
I know. And it's like, why do I feel like I got to worry about who I'm impressing and all that? You know what? What you see is what you get. You can't get any more authentic than this.
Some days it's like this. Some days it's worse.
And what that would have done in the past, I would have said, "Ooh, got my podcast. Don't have time to do all this stuff this morning because I got to get all cute." No, I went to the gym, and that's just, and I was out walking around the garden, like you said, with my coffee. I didn't do all the stuff you did this morning in your garden. You were really hitting it.
Look, I'm currently sitting here in slip-on slides, and my feet are black.
I love it. I love it. 'Tis the season. Your husband's the one that coined it. Blackfoot season. That's what we call it.
Yes, sir. I love being barefoot and I love walking around the yard barefoot. And
I do too. Bill last year, we have that little sectional looking outdoor sofa up on the deck. And I'll kick all the way back and stretch my legs out on the futon part and, sit there with my laptop. Bill comes up, this was last year, and he was like, "My goodness, look at those feet." And I said, "You don't mess with me with these feet." I said, "That's what Rick already has a name for it. It's Blackfoot season." And so now I know it has purpose.
This is the time of year where I have no choice but to clean my floors a little more often. Because I do love going barefoot and my feet are dirty and I stay off the carpet and off the rugs.
Yes. I am with you. And instead of morning showers, it turns to nighttime showers so you can scrub those feet before you get in the bed.
Right. That's right. Because you got to keep those sheets clean as long as possible.
That's right. Oh my goodness. So what have you been up to this week, girl?
I have crafted your headache tea as requested. I am waiting on one ingredient to come in before it's finalized. I have also finally got a name for my anti-inflammatory tea. So I'll be packaging that and listing that. And I have, hopefully with your next drawing for the community, we'll be putting out some testers for tooth powder.
Nice.
And an oil pulling blend that you can actually spit down the drain.
That's amazing.
So I'm testing those myself right now. Mm-hmm. And my husband and I are loving it. I have 2 other people testing it. So I'm going to send you some, and whoever wins the next drawings will get some. So we'll have those tested before we list them out for sale.
Awesome. Love it.
Love it. How about you? And of course, all the gardening stuff. Oh, you guys. Over the last 5 days, I'm going to tell them about the blackberries. My little $4 blackberry plant, I harvested 45 pounds of blackberries.
That is insane. I know Wendy calls me, or she left me a message and she was like, "Girl, I need some ideas. What am I doing with all these things?" Because she said they don't freeze dry well. I said, make up smoothie packs. That's what I'd be doing. I would be making up smoothie packs and throwing them in the freezer.
Definitely have frozen a lot and going to make up those smoothie packs. every single one of my neighbors got a huge bag of blackberries, a huge bunch of oregano, and a nice bundle of lavender.
Love
There
it.
were little gift bags and hung them on their doors.
That's awesome.
From your friends at my address.
That's
Because
awesome.
some of them I don't even know.
That is so sweet. I love it.
And what I want to do is make up a little sign to put out at the street because my blackberry patch is at the corner. We live on a corner. So my blackberry patch is at the corner, and people walk through here all the time. And I want to put a little sign out there saying, feel free to pick.
Yeah, help yourself. Oh my goodness. That's awesome. Well, Matthew and Rubia were here over the weekend, my son and daughter-in-law.
I saw the videos and pictures from the baptism. That was amazing. So sad we couldn't be there.
I know. So many people were here. It was just incredible. What a blessing it was. But while Matthew and Rubia were here, we got a lot done in the garden. Matthew finished putting up the cattle panels. So all four sets are up. And I finished planting everything else except for the pumpkins and spaghetti squash that are going in when the peas come up. We're waiting for those peas to be done. They're blooming like crazy. And you've never seen this. So I planted one kind of pea, unless they snuck something in that, was unexpected. And all of my blooms are white, except for I have like 5 or 6 bright pink blooms.
Oh,
it's really wild. I'm gonna have to take a picture and show you. And I'm like, what is this? Because
maybe it's related to the butterfly pea flower somehow, because those are a type of pea. They just make purple flowers.
Yeah,
So
I don't know.
They don't create the pea pods.
You know what? That's interesting. I'm gonna keep an eye on them. But Bill was out there watering last night, and I went on the backside of them, and I was like, what is this pinkish purple stuff?
That's kind of, watch that and see if they create pods or just the flowers. That's very interesting.
Yeah. So anyway, as soon as those come up, I'm going to put the pumpkin and the spaghetti squash in, but I got all the rest of my tomatoes and basil, more cucumbers, all my zucchini in. I did a bed full of black-eyed peas. The Four Sisters gardens, I added in my pole green beans and the patapan squash on the edges. I did a bunch of nasturtiums and marigolds. Oh, me too. I did Great Northern beans. I did watermelon and cantaloupe. I think that's it this time. But I got a lot of stuff in.
We were talking earlier before we went live about, just sitting out and admiring what's coming up and what's happening.
Oh, it's so amazing.
It's so amazing just to watch God work and make things grow.
It is.
I was out there this morning and my calendula is starting to head up to flowers. They're not open yet, but they're buds. Mm-hmm. And I love just watching the process.
Yeah.
Them blooming,
I agree. It's so amazing. And for anybody that didn't see this on Facebook, my daughter sent me the most beautiful Mother's Day gift.
I love that. I even showed my kids. I'm like, y'all see this?
I was so blown away. She's so thoughtful. She just really is anyway. And she's very creative. And she asked me originally for Mother's Day, she said, so Mom, tell me what seeds you need. Tell me what plants you need. I'll go ahead and order. I said, baby, I don't really want you to do that because as I need things, I'm just ordering them, And so it's like, oh, whoops, I need some more black-eyed peas. I go on to Amazon and get a $4 thing of organic black-eyed peas. It's like, I'm doing it.
We're at that age. Do you remember when our parents and our grandparents they were hard to buy for because whatever they wanted or needed, they just went and got.
Yes.
We're at that age.
Yeah. And so I told my daughter, I said, I'll tell you the only thing, because she's very much into gardening like I am, as you know.
Yes.
And I said, the only thing that I can think of that I probably wouldn't buy myself, but I would love to have is some way to mark my vegetables without just leaving the seed packet laying there or without whatever. I said I was
and the little plastic ones, even when you write on them, even using temporary, they fade, and by the end of the season, you still don't know what's there.
Yeah. And I told her, I said, I'm thinking about just grabbing some popsicle sticks and just writing on them and everything. And I said, but if there's anything I could think of that would be frivolous that I would love to have, would be some cute way to mark these. Yes. She said, ooh, I have an idea. She said, there's something I've been wanting to do for mine. And she said, I think this will inspire me to do it. Nice. And she said, send me your top 15. She said, because what I'm doing is going to take too much. So that's all I'm going to be able to do. I said, okay, sure. So I sent her all of them that I was growing, just in case, because I didn't know if there was something she was duplicating or whatever. I said, but here's my top 15. And I just wanted them for the herb pots.
Right.
Because that's the one place I really knew I was going to get confused and not remember what was what.
Right.
And so she sends me over 40.
I know. I was thinking when I saw them, I was like, I sure hope Matthew brought them and she didn't ship them.
Matthew brought them, and it was so cute. And I'll tell you what made me smile is she did all the different things I was growing, but then she did some extra ones, some that the kids painted, and then she would write over top like, I love you, Gigi, or Gigi's the best. And then some of them had Bible verses and things. I'm out walking around yesterday while Bill was watering, and he just sees I have this huge smile on my face. He said, what are you smiling about? I said, because I just walked past the 2 pots that said Gigi's the best and I love you, Gigi. I said, and so here I am already in my happy place, and then I get to see my grandbabies, something that makes me think of them. I was just
That's right. There's nothing better. When I saw that, I was like, that is an amazing Mother's Day gift.
Oh my God.
Amazing.
So thoughtful.
Yes.
So thoughtful.
And I know that took them some time, and Lord knows it takes patience with children painting.
Yes. And I just love her level of patience, because Kirsty, I would have always been trying to control everything. It's like, no, use this color, or whatever.
Yeah. Stay in the lines.
She just turns them loose and then keeps her own that she's doing so she can be perfect with hers, because she's very artistic. So she, you could tell the ones that she did. And then some of them, the kids just went wild, and I just.
Becca's so good about that too. Letting them just do their thing.
Kids. Let them just be kids.
I'm much better with the grandbabies than I ever was with my children. I will give them paints and things, whether it's blank paper or pictures to paint, and just let them be. I don't know why I couldn't be like that with my children. But
I think it was our age, but that's the only thing I can figure, because I was the same way, and I think
it's just the way we were brought up and raised. We thought that's what we were supposed to do.
Yeah.
I'm glad we learned better.
I am too, because I tell you what, the grandbabies could do anything, and I'll be like, it's just the sweetest thing ever, and I don't worry about it at all.
That's right.
Well, so this week we are continuing what we started last week. Normally we do Wendy's Herb of the Week first this week, but I wanted to make sure we got everything covered.
Yeah, because I took up a lot of time last week. So, and I want you to be able to finish it because it's important. So if we get you an Herb of the Week today, fine. If we don't, we'll be back next week.
Yes, we're not going anywhere, but I think we'll be fine. The biggest thing, and I mentioned this last week, I have just this real heavy burden just to share with people. And I really do hope more and more people will take this seriously. There's 2 big things in my brain right now that I want to help, if you ever hear me say help save the world, there's this running joke in my life, because as a nursing student, you know how in high school people do superlatives? Well, our nursing class did superlatives, and I was voted most likely to save the world, which has cracked me up. But it's because every single patient I had, it was like, oh, I gotta fix everything, and it's like, that's just my nature. And so in my effort to save the world, I have 2 things right now that are just heavy burdens on my heart. Really 3, but 1 I'm not prepared to talk about yet. But 2 that you all are going to hear me talk about a lot right now. 1 is cancer prevention. I know so many people with cancer, and it's always been near and dear to my heart because everybody in my family dies of cancer or Alzheimer's. So cancer prevention is something that's always been very important to me. And while what I teach as far as how to eat is a huge piece of it, it's not the only piece. And I am the biggest thing that I am finding now is the connection with metabolic health to cancer. It is almost universal, y'all. This is something that we can get a handle on early and make your risk so much dramatically lower. Does that mean you'll never get cancer? No, I can't promise that. We don't know, but if you know that hitting yourself in the head with a hammer over and over again is going to give you a headache, there's certain things to stop or know to do better. So if you know that poor metabolic health is setting you up for cancer, let's fix the poor metabolic health, right? So that's the first thing. And that's what we're going to talk about today. And along with the visceral fat connection, which both of them kind of go hand in hand. The second thing you're going to hear me talking about a lot coming up, which is I'm posting about it a lot on social media, is about prevention for some things that there's no reason we should have to deal with in our change of life, in menopause and postmenopause. And if people would have just told us, y'all, I went through a doctorate program and they didn't teach me about frozen shoulder. They didn't teach me about all the stuff that, that can happen during the menopause change. And the thing is that so much of it is preventable. They don't tell us this because they're going out there and people are getting frozen shoulder and getting shoulder replacement surgeries. That isn't necessary. Might a shoulder replacement surgery get you cured faster? Yes, but you're going to cure anyway. So why put yourself through that? Maybe. And so
maybe. And then what are the long-term side effects from?
And the interesting thing that I'm finding with a lot of studies that have been done of people who have had the adhesive capsulitis, the frozen shoulder, and have had shoulder surgeries versus not. If you aren't fully healed already from what caused it, you are at risk for getting it still if you got that shoulder replacement surgery. My cat is losing her mind. She's going crazy over here. Birds. They're gonna kill them all from inside the sunroom. It's really funny. But anyway, so that is one of the things that I'm going to be, I'm starting a new program within the community called Strengthen the Shift. It starts next Wednesday. It is going to be something that is ideally for younger women to prepare for the shift in life, but it is equally important for women who are already going through it. Y'all, if somebody would have told me this stuff 5 years ago, even though I was perimenopausal, I could have prevented this.
Yeah.
And I just really and it's not just about the frozen shoulder. There's other things, but I've been really good at teaching people how to avoid hot flashes and, all these other things that we deal with, the mood swings, everything. But this was something I was not prepared for. And so I just really want to teach people about this, about how to prevent it and how to set your body up in a way to make sure that you are prepared for that season in your life. And so join our community because I'm going to be starting a 6-week program starting next Wednesday on Strengthen the Shift. And the thing is, when you're in our community, you get all of the short-term programs. This one's 6 weeks. You get all of them included. All my past ones are included because I have a classroom that has them all. So if you get done with this 6-week program and you go, oh, wow, I noticed she has one on, sugar busters, combating sugar cravings. That's the next one I want to do. Or, oh, she's got one on parasite cleansing. Let me do that one. I have so much out there. And then you get all the support included and the weekly meal plans and everything. So this is a really great time to join our community. It's either $39 a month or $374 a year. That saves you 20% off of the monthly rate when you do it annually. So, but today we're going to focus on the metabolic health. We started talking about it last week. What I was sharing last week is that there is a direct connection between poor metabolic health and people who get cancer. It's almost universal. It's really fascinating because, and again, let me just back up and say, does this mean that, God forbid, a 2-year-old that gets cancer automatically must have poor metabolic health? No, that is not what I'm saying. It's not 100%. But when you are doing things to reduce risk, this is a huge thing that can prevent you from getting cancer later. So when I talk about metabolic health, if you are like me for years, when I was a nurse, everything metabolic health related, I equated to diabetes. I didn't make the connection of, all of the other things that go into it. So, it was really just, okay, what's my fasting blood sugar and what's my hemoglobin A1C? And that was it. Yeah. That is not it. Okay. There's so much more that goes into it. As a matter of fact, we have been led to believe that cholesterol being elevated is all fat related, meat related, all that stuff. Garbage. That is garbage. Yep. It is almost always metabolic health related. It is very rare when I have to tell somebody, hey, I'm going to need you back off on your red meat and your pork because we can't move the needle. It's almost always metabolic related, and it's almost always related to not enough fiber and too much processed foods. So anyway, that is one of the biggest reasons why I keep recommending Function Health. And that is included now in all my programs because I cannot stress enough how important it is. Let me throw that up.
Also, you want to put that QR code up for that?
Yeah, that QR code right now saves you all $25 if you sign up for it. It's typically $365 a year for 2 panels, which is unheard of. Prior to me finding Function Health 3 years ago, I could not find a comprehensive panel for under $900, which is why I never offered them to my clients because that was just absurd. So now you're getting 2 panels. One of them checks around 120 labs.
Sorry, that's my grandpuppy.
That's okay. And then one checks a repeat of 60 of them where, mid-year so that you can see how you've improved on those. Nice. But it's an incredible way to find out more about what exactly your metabolic health is doing because I just noticed we got a comment from Bill Swingle.
Oh, it's Swing.
Hi, Swingle. But yeah, so it's so valuable to get the labs done because then I can look at all the things. I don't just see your hemoglobin A1C. I don't just see your fasting glucose. I get your fasting insulin, your triglycerides, your inflammatory markers, your omega-3s. That's huge with metabolic health. Your homocysteine is important. All these things are important and play a factor in your metabolic health. And we can see exactly what's going on and then target either food or supplementation or both to improve in those areas. And if you find out about it before you have any problems, hallelujah. I mean, it's incredible. So in addition to all of those metabolic figures, I wanted to talk about visceral fat because that's the other common denominator in a lot of cancers. So visceral fat is different from the softer fat that you just can pinch under your skin. Visceral fat is around your middle. So it can cause your, pinchable fat to be pushed out more, but that is not what the visceral fat is. It's the deeper fat stored around your organs. So around your liver, pancreas, intestines, even your heart. And this is where so much of the toxins are stored in your body. Visceral fat is not just stored energy because that's what we've been taught, is that it's just hanging out there and waiting for us to need it. It's actually metabolically active tissue. that is hanging out right around your organs. So that means it's actively contributing to inflammation, hormone disruption, insulin resistance, elevated blood sugar, oxidative stress, and inflammatory signaling throughout your body. Without that excess visceral fat, you're not having to deal with all that as much. So this is why someone can technically not look very overweight, but still have poor metabolic health internally. So that's one of the reasons I definitely, want to check blood work on everybody. Just because you don't have a big belly does not mean you don't have visceral fat that is affecting your metabolic health. So let's talk about what causes visceral fat. Visceral fat accumulation usually develops from years of chronically elevated insulin. So again, we need to know what that insulin number is. And we don't usually know unless you do functional health labs or functional labs. Also from excess processed carbohydrates and sugars. Hello, standard American diet. Mm-hmm. People that eat the standard American diet, I don't care if you are skinny, you got visceral fat around those organs, most likely. Right. Consistent grazing and snacking. When I was looking into all the causes, do you know how bad that ticked me off? Because we were taught for years that that's the healthy way to eat, is to graze. That's such a crock of crap. That is not the healthiest way to be. It is, picking a window of time that your body needs so that you aren't stressing your body out. So I'm not suggesting excessive, all the time doing excessive fasting. But everybody has a window of time that they need. And I teach people how to determine what that window is for them. Some people, they eat across 12 hours. Some people, they eat across 6 or 8 hours. Yeah. But it just depends on what your body's needs are. If you're constantly grazing and snacking throughout that 24-hour window, you are probably walking around with a lot of visceral fat. Poor sleep can cause it. Chronic stress and cortisol elevation. That, again, one of the reasons I don't encourage excessive extended fasting is because you're just adding to that elevated cholesterol. Not cholesterol, cortisol. And so much of the stress in our lives is already doing that. We don't need to add to it. Nutrient depletion, that is huge. And lack of muscle mass. So one of the things that we always hear about is to make sure that you are, that you're keeping your core exercised and things like that. This is one of the reasons why, because when you do that, you are helping to remove the fat from around your organs. Also, inflammation causes it. I hear my phone over here. Oh, okay. My daughter must not know I'm on my podcast. She's not watching. Come on, Kirsty.
Busy with children.
Yes. Ultra processed food causes excess visceral fat. Inflammatory oils. I've been talking about this like crazy, y'all. The inflammatory seed oils have got to stop. They have got to stop. That and the processed foods are jacking up your omega-6 to omega-3 ratio. The average person has a hard enough time getting enough omega-3s. You don't need to get the balance off by adding to it with a bunch of garbage, processed oils and the processed foods. And then also sedentary lifestyle patterns. If you're not moving, the fat just hangs out. Yep. Wherever it lands. And so it gets nice and cozy right there around those organs, and we don't want it to get comfortable. So the biggest point that I want you all to hear is that stress matters tremendously, not just what we think of as emotional and mental stress, but physical stress on your body. This matters so much. Chronically elevated cortisol from poor sleep, emotional stress, overwork, anxiety, burnout, and nervous system dysregulation. All of these things will keep your cortisol elevated, and that is not good for this.
And it doesn't have to be all of those, just one of those.
Yeah.
And then it just compounds if it's more than one.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? If I just listed off 5 things that you're like, oh my gosh, well, that's me, pick one.
Yeah.
You don't have to fix them all overnight.
That's
Do you know
right.
how long it took me? Anybody that's followed me for any amount of time knows that even, early and up until recently, up until this, well, probably been talking about it for the last 2 years, but really got good at it in December of this year about my sleep. Prior to that, I had the motto, I'll sleep when I'm dead. It's like I'm too busy. And now it really ticks me off when I don't get 7 hours because
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I need that sleep. And so I've really learned to prioritize it. But y'all, I've been at this healthy lifestyle for 15 years. That was not my first priority.
Right.
So all I'm saying, when you hear a list of that like that, and wow, I have a bunch to work on, pick one. Pick one right now.
Don't overwhelm yourself trying to fix the list.
Yeah. And all those things that I mentioned, that contributes to worsening insulin resistance, which is what we need to work on. We want to be sensitive. We want to be insulin sensitive. And it also contributes to abdominal fat storage. Y'all, let me tell you, I am prime example of a person who has completely reversed this. I was borderline diabetic in my 30s. I was the one with the, approaching 6.0 hemoglobin A1C. I know, though I never had it checked, I know just based on what my symptoms were and all the different things that I did know about my health, I know that I was insulin resistant. There's no way I wasn't. So now to see how insulin sensitive I've become 17 years later from when I know I was diagnosed, borderline diabetic or pre-diabetic, man, I would have never believed in my 50s I would be so much healthier than in my 30s. But it's possible, y'all. I lived it.
It is possible to feel better in your 50s than you did in your 30s. We are living proof.
Yes, absolutely. So many women notice belly weight gain, worsening metabolic health, and increased inflammation during perimenopause and menopause. Even though you're doing the same things you did in your 20s and 30s. And it's like, wait a minute, this used to work. Yeah, our bodies were a lot more resilient then. It doesn't mean, we always hear, oh, well, this is just normal. Our metabolism gets worse and all that when we go through. That is a bunch of garbage too, because it's just that our bodies, when you're young, you are so resilient and your body reacts to every little thing you do. So it was nothing for me to be able to do a crash diet, go hard in the gym for 2 weeks and then look amazing in my bikini and then throw it all away and do it again, a few months later when I'm
needed, right?
Yeah, I can't do that now. And that's not the good way to be. You need to be more consistent.
Yes.
And consistency is the key. So with everything, you're right. Hormonal shifts absolutely affect insulin sensitivity, muscle preservation, inflammation, and fat storage patterns. And so this is why it's so key for this. So let's talk about how to reduce visceral fat, because how do you reduce something that you don't really see? It's just hanging out around your organs. So you cannot spot reduce visceral fat with crunches and detoxes. That's what people just think. Oh, okay, well, I'm just going to do crunches and get rid of that belly fat. That'll help it'll help with the core strength. It'll help prevent you from getting visceral fat. It'll help you with just your overall metabolic health when you're exercising, period. But specifically the visceral fat, that's not going to be the primary way to do it. You reduce the visceral fat by improving your overall metabolic environment in your body. So you want to make your body a place where visceral fat isn't welcome. Okay. So if you are insulin sensitive, if you're eating the right foods, if you're exercising, if you're getting sleep, if you're reducing your stress level and your cortisol, you will have much less visceral fat than somebody else. The body begins releasing let me get my notes here. Visceral fat, when blood sugar stabilizes, insulin improves, inflammation lowers, muscle mass improves, sleep improves, stress lowers, and the body becomes more metabolically flexible overall. So that's all things that I teach people to work on to improve their metabolic health. But this is something that's going to help a lot. All right, the biggest needle movers. Let's talk about this. And if you're somebody that works with me, you are going to hear things that I talk about ad nauseum, especially this first thing, protein and fiber especially. I'm not talking extreme protein, y'all. I'm not talking about the carnivore diet. I'm not talking about going out there and getting 200 grams. There's a lot of people that talk about doing 1 gram per pound of body weight and all that stuff. Y'all, your kidneys are not happy with you long term, especially if you consume that much protein. That is not ideal. It is truly not a one size fits all thing. My recommendation now, I've recently increased. So let me just tell you, I've always said nobody should ever get under 60 grams. I still stand by that, but that should definitely be your low end. For most women, I've bumped it up about 10 grams, and I'm really, especially during this time of life, 70 to 90 grams of protein is good for most women. I tell everybody to aim in between 60 and 100. Mm-hmm. Men should be higher. They should be on that 80 to 100 range. But hear me. If you are working out and exercising a whole lot and you feel you don't have the energy to get through your workouts, that's when you might need a little bit more. I have had people who have been heavy weightlifters and do fantastic at 120, 130 grams of protein. But that was on a case-by-case basis to make sure that they got the energy they needed for their workouts. If you consistently are consuming high levels of protein, that is not good for your body long term. It is not good for your kidneys that have to filter all of that. It is not good for your metabolic health long term. It might be great today. It is not good long term. So it is best to just make sure you're getting enough in that 70 to 90 gram range, maybe up to 100, but very, very important. Balanced, appropriate protein is what we're talking about. And also quality matters more than quantity. That's one of the things that I teach people is that you may, if you're somebody that's always been a real heavy meat eater, you may find that you probably, could spend the same amount of money and eat less protein by getting the right quality. So like I used to put away a 16-ounce porterhouse without thinking about it. It's like have this big old steak and then a few little pieces of broccoli. And no, it's the opposite. You want the big plate of vegetables with just, have your meat as your side dish, depending on, if you're male or female. 4 to 6 ounces at a meal is enough. So that, 16-ounce porterhouse could be, 3 or 4 meals for you. And so when you look at it that way, it makes it a whole lot easier to swallow, spending more money on good quality, pasture raised, grass finished, no antibiotics, no hormones meat. Fiber is definitely key. And so many people undervalue this. Fiber is huge. It improves your satiety, makes you less hungry. It supports your gut microbiome, very important. It improves your estrogen detox. So as your body is shifting, especially, we'll be talking about this in the Strength in the Shift program. As your body is shifting with your estrogen levels, it improves what your estrogen is doing if you're getting adequate fiber. It stabilizes your blood sugar, it lowers inflammation, and it reduces cholesterol, because most people's cholesterol is related to not getting enough fiber. It's not the fats. Also, building and preserving muscle is huge. So muscle is one of the greatest metabolic protectors that we have. So strength training improves insulin sensitivity, glucose regulation, inflammation, longevity, and hormone health. All these things are very important. And this is not, 22-year-old meathead mindset. Excuse me, I don't mean to say that to anybody, but I was that meathead. It's like I was in the gym every day, pumping iron and just trying to get this rock hard body, and nothing wrong with that. But that's not what it's all about, y'all. Everybody needs to be out there exercising.
Yes.
And you need to be doing it consistently with weights.
Yes.
You've got to get the muscle built. It's so important. And it's not about, going out there and being able to pose on a stage for, Miss Olympia or something. Great for people that do that. I have several friends on my timeline that do that, and it's super cool to see people doing that, especially my friends who are all the way up into their 60s doing it. It's amazing. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm just talking about consistency and doing some resistance work.
And that's going to lead to more strength in the elder years.
Yep.
Your body's going to stay stronger longer.
And that is when we need it more.
Yep.
And I mean, again, you want to talk about a humbling season? Yeah. I am up I told Wendy, I said, I feel like the young kid at the gym, because everybody in there is a lot older than me at the time that I go at my particular gym. And you know what? They can do more than I can. And it's so awesome to see them. But it's been very humbling for me because I have to be so cautious with my injuries. And there's certain things, movements I can't do that I should be able to do at 52 years old. And so this is a season of rebuilding, and it's really, really been awesome. I'm very excited about, continuing down that path. All right. Also, walking more, especially after meals. This is a huge help for metabolic health. Even 10-minute walks after eating can improve glucose handling significantly. If you are, if weather's bad, or, when we're talking about wintertime, if you just want to do a 10-minute dance party in your kitchen while you're doing dishes or whatever, just move. That is very important for helping to reduce those huge insulin spikes, or the glucose spikes, that makes us have overreactive insulin. Yeah. So really, really important to move after your meals. Improve sleep. Poor sleep, like I just talked about, worsens cortisol. It worsens cravings. Y'all, when I don't when I don't sleep well the next day, I could eat anything that's not nailed down. Yeah. My typical day, I don't have that problem. But if I don't sleep well, I have noticed a direct correlation between when I'm going to have my cravings. Yeah. So it's so important to get good sleep. It also affects insulin resistance, inflammation, and fat storage. Our bodies are healing during sleep. So if you're not sleeping enough, you're not giving your body adequate time to be able to fully heal. Also, lowering chronic stress. Stress is not just emotional, it is also physiological. So it is physical as well. And this is why, and this is huge, there's been studies that have proven this: prayer, rest, observing the Sabbath, slowing down, focusing on nervous system regulation. So you're not always wired and tired, or, always amped up about everything. It actually matters physically too with these things. They've done studies that have proven that if you do in your first 30 minutes of the day and your last 30 minutes of the day, if you do some sort of at least 5 minutes in those windows of prayer, meditation, anything like that, that you are going to naturally reduce your cortisol levels.
Absolutely. Breathing exercises is good for that.
Yep. Yep. Very good for it. And intentionally doing things to help reduce or to regulate your nervous system better. Things like turning off your devices at an hour before bedtime.
That will make it, I know that's hard for some people, but it will make a huge difference in your sleep patterns.
It does. It does. It makes a massive difference. Also, cutting off your notifications.
Yes.
I do not have any notifications on my phone. I don't know when somebody calls or leaves me a message. I don't know when Facebook has, notifications. I don't know when Sprouts has a sale. I don't know any of that. When I want to know something, I actively utilize the phone and find what I need to know.
Same.
And it is really a mindset shift, y'all. Don't let your phones dictate your life. If you are somebody because I know I was, if I saw a single notification on my phone, it would drive me nuts. I would have to immediately react because that little red icon that would just drive me crazy.
I don't want to see it there. I want it to be nice and crisp and clean.
Yep. So I would stop what I'm doing, react to whatever. And it would it would keep me constantly reactive.
And a lot of it doesn't need to be reacted to.
No, none of it's important. None of it is important. Now, you can, especially if you have younger kids, my kids are grown and have their own lives. Though I try and tell myself that, Gigi is extremely important. And if they need me, they need to be able to get me immediately. It's not that they can't, but I have had the ability in my personal phone, because I also have a business phone separate, but in my personal phone, I have my notifications turned on for my children. Yeah. That is it. So I can hear the phone ring if they are trying to call me. I can see an icon if they've left me a message, but nobody else does. I don't have any other notifications, period.
Right. So, because nothing else is that important.
Nope. And that's not to say that, people in my life aren't important. They absolutely are. But I have had to set that boundary where I can pick up my phone and decide now is when I'm going to check my emails.
Right. And it's for ourselves, right? Because we are people that we have always had a habit of being there immediately.
Yeah.
And it's like, we can't always do that. And I know your story is like mine. It has taken us a long while to get to the point where we were comfortable setting that boundary, not being available 24/7, and it's so nice to see the growth that we've both had in that area.
I agree, because y'all, at one point, even when I was just selling Pampered Chef, I was the one that would wake up at 2 a.m. and, to go to the bathroom and look at my phone in case somebody needed me.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Emails in case somebody has a question, yes.
If somebody had a Pampered Chef question and was worried about something that they had, I promise you it could wait till 9 a.m. It did not need to be answered at 2 a.m. But that was the way my brain was. It was like, I don't want anybody waiting on me. And I've carried that into this business and everything. But in the last few years, I've been able to put a pause on that. And I cannot stress enough how life-changing it was for me to start observing Sabbath.
Yes.
There's a reason why God commands that in the Bible, because that is part of our normal physical rhythm. And it is such a gift that he's given us and that you can give to yourself by actually breaking societal norms. Because in our society, that's not the norm. Y'all, shut everything off. Rest. Give yourself one day a week. It doesn't have to be Sunday or Saturday. It can be, Wednesday.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Day works for you, but pick a day that you just allow your body to rest and your brain to rest. That's the biggest thing.
Yes, it's important. It's
very. It is.
I know you've seen the shifts that happen when you start being consistently obedient with that.
Yeah.
The major shifts will happen. You'll see it. God will let you see it. There's not going to be any doubt that it's because of what you're doing and being obedient.
That's right. I'll tell you, I've shared this story, but for anybody who hasn't heard it before, it's worth repeating. The day that the Lord convicted me that I needed to start observing Sabbath, y'all, I was still working 60 to 70 hours a week. I had my Pampered Chef business at the time. I was just starting to do really small group programs with people, and I was working on completing my doctorate. So when I felt the Lord telling me, Wendy, give me one day, I literally laughed at him. I literally laughed at him.
When, Lord, do you see my to-do list?
I was like, Lord, there is no way, like, I appreciate what you're saying. You meant that for everybody else. You didn't mean that for me because, clearly it's impossible in the life that I live. No, it's not.
No, it's not. It's like, I know you and I both have always had hefty duty to-do lists.
Yeah.
No matter what day of the week it was.
Yep.
No matter how many hours we put in at the office, outside of the office, there was still a heavy duty to-do list. And it was like, Lord, I can't even get this done now. How do you think I'm going to get this done if I take a day of rest?
But he will, and this, he will multiply it, just like he teaches us scripturally on tithing with your money.
Right.
If you are generous, he is going to bless you. It is factual. The more generous you are, the more he is going to bless you. And you don't do it to be blessed. No. You do it knowing that, you know what, I can't afford this, but I feel the Lord telling me to do this. It's the same thing with our time. Yes. If you think you can't afford that time, just give it to him and watch what he does.
Because I'm telling you what, everything is always taken care of, right? Mm-hmm. When you stress about money and you give it to God, somehow, some way, he always makes sure there's enough there, and it's the same thing with your time. And it's the same thing with your to-do list. Yep. You start prioritizing him. Yep. He's going to let everything else fall into place.
He sure is every time. So test him in it. I'm telling you, he will multiply your time when you give that, when you have that trust in him. And what I ultimately had to realize is when I didn't give it to him, it's because I didn't trust him enough to make sure that I would still be able to accomplish.
We always think we got it figured out more than he does, right? And we can handle it better. We can control it better.
Yeah. Wrong. I'll tell you what, after I trusted him with it, he made a way for me to get out of bedside nursing. He made a way for me to be able to not only have that day, but he also made a way for me to finish my doctorate. He made a way for, all the things that I never believed I'd have time for.
Yeah.
So he will make a way. You just got to trust him enough that if you're obedient and follow that command to observe the Sabbath, he will make a way, period. So just trust him.
That's right.
The last thing of the different things that we can do to improve visceral fat is to improve our omega balance. And this isn't just for visceral fat. This is also all of them are also for metabolic health. Okay. But most people consume way too many inflammatory processed oils, like we were talking about earlier, and too little omega-3 support. This heavily contributes to inflammation and metabolic dysfunction. And y'all, I'm just going to tell you right now, I've always been the person that says, I don't recommend supplements across the board. I like to see what your blood work looks like and everything. If you aren't eating salmon or sardines or some of the other fatty fish, anchovies, mackerel, if you aren't eating at least 4 times a week of those, then you need to supplement with omega-3, because I can just tell you my experience looking at everybody's blood work. I have not had one, and I've been checking blood work of people I've worked with for years that I know how healthy they eat. I have not had one person have a good omega-3 to 6 ratio. I've had some that have been close, but not one has been in the ideal range. So we all need to be supplementing with omega-3 if you're not eating the fatty fish 4 times a week.
Wow. I'm not sure I can handle 4 times a week. So what's your number one recommended supplement?
So I right now really like, and this is one thing I will tell y'all, I love We Heart Nutrition and that's no different, but We Heart Nutrition's is really good for people who just need a maintenance range. I haven't had a single person in maintenance range yet. Okay. So I like right now the Micro Ingredients brand. You can get it on Amazon, and it's the 4200. It's triple strength. It's a very well absorbed omega-3 fish oil. It also has natural lemon oil in it for the flavor. So a lot of ones out there have, fake flavors in there to make it taste less fishy. They use natural lemon oil, which is just fine. And it's completely natural and clean.
I'll tell you what, I've been really impressed with Micro Ingredients.
I have too. I've been using a lot of their stuff. Yeah. I've been really impressed. There's a few things I won't use because some stuff they have additives, but most of them they do not. And
you have to look, but a lot of their stuff is nice and clean.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been really and you can get a lot of things in powder form, which I really appreciate because I've started adding a lot of things in powder form to my teas so that I can consume them that way rather than always having to take capsules because I don't love those.
Yeah.
I mean, I do take capsules, but anyway, so that is huge. The other way to help with this, like I said, the biggest reasons why you're getting too much omega-6 is, and omega-6 by nature is not a bad thing. It's a needed fat. The problem is we're getting way too much because you also get it from processed foods and you get it from the industrial seed oils. So, but here's the area that those of us who eat healthy and already don't eat seed oils and already don't eat processed foods, why would ours be too elevated? And this is what I can tell you. I'm sure mine was due to way too much sun butter. That's been my go-to, handfuls of nuts and pumpkin seeds. Now, I'm not saying I never do. Like when I was on my long drive yesterday to and from Richmond, I had a few handfuls of pumpkin seeds because that's something that I can do in the car to, especially if I'm getting drowsy or something like that. It's a good option. But for the day-to-day, like when you're at home, don't just treat nuts and seeds and nut butters and seed butters as a free-for-all. You need to remember that I think it's just a teaspoon, maybe it's 2 teaspoons of the butters is 1 serving. The nuts and seeds, a 1/4 cup is 1 serving. I don't know about y'all. I'm not eating a 1/4 cup of nothing. I'm grabbing handfuls, So,
my handful is more than a 1/4 of a cup.
Absolutely. And so I am sure when I saw that my omega-6s were too high, that it is because when I have a craving, I just go and grab a spoon of sun butter, or I'll, grab handfuls of nuts and seeds. So now I don't do the excessive sun butter and nut butter. I'll put a little bit on, like if I'm doing celery or something like that. Or I sprinkle my seeds or my nuts on my salad or in my chia pudding. And that's the extent of what I'm doing. I'm not eating handfuls anymore.
Right.
So that's a good way to improve your omega balance.
That's what I did too, Wendy, because I love the chia pudding. I started doing the chia pudding and stopped the snacking on the nuts because I found the same thing. I was eating way too many.
Yeah. And they're great. There's nothing wrong with them. It's the amount, just like anything, that's one of those things we need to make sure we don't exceed. You want to go crazy on something, go crazy on veggies.
That's right.
Veggies and guac. I don't have a limit to that. I want you to eat 8 to 10 cups of veggies a day, or at least shoot for it. I always tell people the average American gets a cup to maybe 2 cups of veggies a day. Your body would respond so much better to 8 to 10. So if you shoot for 8 to 10 and land somewhere around 5 or 6,
that's right.
God. That's right.
That's a whole lot more than 1 or 2.
Yes. So that's why I say shoot for the 8 to 10. If you hit it, great. If you don't, you're not going to be where you were, So I will go crazy on veggies and guac. Or veggies and a good quality hummus. I try not to go too crazy on those. But veggies and guac is nothing but I mean, that's all
Yep.
good quality fat and fiber and
Right.
the veggies. So
Who doesn't love an avocado?
who are you telling? That's my answer to everything.
I know.
It
Avocado has become like your little mascot.
is. It is. And it's so funny. My bonus son, I call him my bonus son, my little stepson. He calls me Mamacado. So if y'all think that is just the front put up on social media, you're wrong. It's literally my favorite thing in the world, and I am forever.
That's right. It's so good, so tasty. I mean, you can make fresh guac easy, simple. You don't have to have all of the stuff.
No.
If you just have a little lime juice and salt and pepper with an avocado, that's enough.
Yep. Just squeeze it all up, and then you got a dip or whatever.
That's right. That's amazing. A great way to get your veggies in.
It is. It is. So why does all this matter for disease? Poor metabolic health contributes to diabetes, fatty liver, health disease, dementia, hormone dysfunction. Okay. All these things. Also, it contributes to infertility because it is a huge reason for PCOS, y'all. Yeah. Huge reason. I've helped young women suddenly get pregnant. Yeah. Once they've worked with me for a couple of months that have been battling infertility because we just got their metabolic health straight. We got them eating the right foods.
That makes so much sense. And there's a lot of the infertility in the younger ladies today.
PCOS is huge. And they tell people that they need to take the birth control pills to regulate it. That is such garbage. Yep. It is almost
I will never believe that. Yep.
It is almost always metabolic.
Yep.
Also autoimmune issues and many cancers, which is what we've been talking about. So, we cannot separate chronic disease from metabolic dysfunction syndrome. We just can't. They are connected. So when we've all grown up with, okay, do this and you're going to have, less risk of disease and all this stuff. I am telling you, I have got it down to where it is just, let's focus on your metabolic health. If I focus on, that's why every single one of my clients now get their blood work done, because I can no longer just work with people and say, hey, just eat these foods, just get down, let's get your weight down. Let's make sure you're getting all your water. Let's do all that. Yes, all those things are important. But if you don't know that underlying state of their metabolic health, you might not be working fully on what needs to be worked on at the root cause.
Because when you look at their metabolic numbers and stuff and you see something's off, you can tell them how to fix that.
Yes.
Right. So then it becomes preventative medicine if you're not even showing signs of something, or if you're having an issue that nobody seems to be able to figure out, that will more than likely tell you, Wendy, what the issue is and how to fix it.
Exactly. And y'all, your metabolic health can be poor 20 years before you ever have the first disease creep in. Yeah. I believe that. Yes. And you may have no idea because you aren't getting those labs drawn in conventional medicine. And if you don't have a reason, like you don't have any symptoms that give your doctor a reason to think, oh, well, maybe there's something going on. They don't have any reason to draw it, nor will insurance pay for it.
That's right.
So that is why I love getting these, because then we can work on, okay, look, your omegas are off. Here's what we're going to do. Oh, you know what? Some people, it is just diet. It's like, you know what? You've been eating poorly. Let's fix this. Let's make sure you're getting the right amount of fiber and protein. So it is a matter of knowing where you are so that we can get you to where you need to be able to prevent all this stuff.
Nice.
Let's see here. The cancer connection. I want to say this carefully and compassionately. Like I said before, this does not mean for anybody who has cancer now or who has experienced cancer that you caused it. No. Don't hear that when I'm talking about prevention. We all need to know what will prevent these things. Right. There's plenty of things in my life that I'm dealing with, like I said, with my frozen shoulder that I had no idea. So let's learn from it and let's teach. That's right.
That's
So
no judgment.
Also, I'm not saying healthy people never get cancer.
Nope.
It absolutely can happen. But
Pretty-
there is a reason why 1 in 2 people now get cancer.
Yes.
And it is because it is directly correlated to the horrible increase in poor metabolic health. All right. So life is way more complex than just saying, do this and you'll never get cancer. I would never say that. But we also cannot ignore what we now know scientifically that we didn't know before. So cancer tends to thrive in inflammatory conditions, glucose-rich conditions. So if you're somebody that loves your sweets, you are just fueling those cells that grow cancer, and insulin-heavy environments. So when we have an overreaction of our insulin, that's what it means to be insulin resistant. Okay, your body is throwing too much insulin into circulation when in reaction to whatever food you're eating. And that's why we end up with a cycle. Oh my gosh, I threw way too much insulin. Now my blood sugar's dropping. Now I got to eat again. And we've been taught, oh, we'll eat something to bring it up. No, that's not the way to do it. So your body's too sweet, possibly. Most modern bodies are living in an environment that is simply too sweet. So things like sugary drinks, processed carbs, constant snacking, ultra processed foods, lack of movement, poor sleep, and chronic stress. Are you seeing it's the same connection with all of it. All the same stuff. So insulin is not bad. We need insulin, but chronically elevated insulin due to all of these things, due to having your body be too sweet and eating too much of the processed foods and the processed sugars, drinking your calories is one of the worst things you can do. Do I occasionally have a kombucha or something like that? Sure. But it should not be something where you're drinking all these sodas and sugary drinks and all that stuff. That's the worst. So chronically elevated insulin, because especially with these sweet drinks, our insulin reacts like crazy because you're flooding your body suddenly with sugar. Yeah. So that drives inflammation, drives fat storage, worsens metabolic dysfunction, and signals growth pathways. Those growth pathways is where a lot of our cancers are formed. So you just absolutely do not want your insulin going crazy. It's one reason that blood sugar regulation becomes so foundational in both disease prevention and in cancer support. I work with a lot of people who have cancer actively, and we don't do excess carbs or sugar for that reason. We don't do any added sugars. We don't do excess carbs because we need to reduce the amount of circulating sugar in their bodies. One thing that I see in labs constantly after working with so many people, if they have cancer or severe chronic disease, they almost always have the underlying metabolic dysfunction somewhere in the picture. I consistently see elevated triglycerides. That's one thing that I definitely always look for in there. Poor omega balance, insulin resistance, nutrient depletion, visceral fat, low muscle mass, and inflammation. And often their routine glucose has looked normal for years. And that's one thing I hear universally. I hear people say, I get my blood drawn every 6 months.
Oh, that works always fine.
Yeah, but that number is not always going to be a problem until it's really late in the game. Yeah. So that's why I pay attention to the fasting insulin, the triglycerides, your HDL cholesterol, inflammation markers, your waist circumference is important, omega balance, metabolic flexibility, and your quality of life. Yeah. That is also very important. Just to wrap up here, because I know we're almost out of time. If you are relatively healthy, take this seriously now, please. Ages 35 to, I'd say 60 is probably the most important time to make sure you know where you're at. Sooner is even better. But I mean, like my kids are both in their early to mid 30s. And it was such a great thing for me to be able to see all their blood work and say, okay, let's fine tune now. And that's all they needed.
Yeah.
All their metabolic health looks decent right now. So let's just fine tune so it's not an issue later.
Right. It sets them up for the future.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Nice.
So definitely take this seriously. This is the time in this stage of your life to build muscle, improve your sleep, reduce inflammation, stabilize your blood sugar, support metabolic health, and lower disease risk before the crisis happens. If you're already facing disease, that does not mean it's too late. Cancer, chronic illness, autoimmune diseases, metabolic dysfunction. I work with all of these people. And, I want you to hear hope, not shame. There's no reason at this stage to go, oh gosh, I wish I'd known this then. Okay, well, you didn't. Neither did I. So now let's focus on where you are. So I have watched people improve their energy, inflammation, pain, blood sugar, triglycerides, brain fog, cholesterol, sleep, any kind of GI symptoms, and just overall quality of life by making changes now. Sometimes these changes happen within days. I'm working with some people right now who just mean so much to me. It's a husband and wife. And within 3 days of starting working with me, they were able to walk up and down a hill to a place that they walk all the time. And they both of them looked at each other and were like, oh my gosh, we usually have to sit down when we get up here. And they were able to keep on going. And that was 3 days after starting this work on their bodies. So it happens quickly, y'all.
It does happen quickly.
So the goal is to create a less inflammatory, less glucose heavy, better nourished internal environment. And the only way we can do that with certainty is to see where you are right now. So y'all, the labs are so important. And I just really do hope you all will do that. Take my advice. And if you want assistance with it on helping you, make the changes necessary to improve your metabolic health, improve your visceral fat, and reduce your risk of chronic disease and cancers later in life, just reach out to me, because this is what I do. I'm so passionate about it. I want to help.
I'm so good at it.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. And, people need guidance. The internet is so full of extremes that people don't know who to trust. They
don't know what's true anymore.
Right. Exactly. I mean, because all over the internet, it's carnivore, vegan, fasting extreme, supplement overload, without them even discussing food, just take these supplements, biohacking confusion. So people need someone who can interpret the whole picture, personalize your recommendations, identify root causes, review labs deeply, who understand it, and simplify the process. I've heard people out there that are selling supplements that are like, oh, all those labs aren't necessary. Just take our magic pill. BS. Sorry. That's not going to be helpful. No. Are some supplements great? Sure. Absolutely. But if you don't know what you're supplementing, if you don't know what the whole picture is, you are not going to be helpful.
And don't forget that most supplements out there are full of junk.
Yes.
And it's not going to help you anyway.
Why I'm so picky about the supplements I recommend. Yes. It's like when you hear me recommend a name brand supplement, they've been very well vetted by me. And others I have looked at, and I've had some I wanted to love. I've had some that people I love are representing their companies and all. I'm not going to ever, I don't care if, she wouldn't, but if my best friend in the whole world here, Wendy, was to all of a sudden, want to start making money and sell, XYZ supplements, and I couldn't stand by them, I would never tell you to buy them. No matter how much I love Wendy, I will never do that. When you hear me recommend a supplement, I promise you it is something that I stand behind.
One of the main reasons you got out of Pampered Chef.
Yes. Yes. And sorry, I love Pampered Chef for what they were and what they did and for a lot of their products. Yes. But there are a lot of their products and especially their processed foods they're selling now that I could not stand behind anymore. Oh. My last straw, I've shared with a lot of people. I had somebody reach out to me and say, "Oh, Wendy, I bought their beer bread because I knew if you sold it, it must be healthy."
Right. Exactly.
Like, oh, nope.
Yep. That's not going to work.
We done. So again, this is not about obsession or fear. It's about stewardship. Small choices compound. One better meal, one walk, one sugary drink removed, one strength workout. That's important. One extra hour of sleep. All these things make a huge difference. We cannot always control what happens to us in life, but we can create a body environment that supports healing, resilience, strength, vitality, and longevity. And that is my goal for everybody.
Yes, I love it.
And with that, that is at the end of our show. So Wendy, I'm sorry.
I learned a lot. I took 3 pages of notes.
Love it. Love it. So I apologize that I totally bogarted the whole thing and I did not give you time. I thought for sure I'd get it done faster, but
it's all good. You know what? We will come back to Herb of the Week next week.
Yeah.
It's the rigid flexibility that we live by.
Yes. And next week I'm going to talk more about the strength in the shift and things that we need, for that. But y'all, I'm not going to get into the depth that I will be getting into.
Come on and join us in the community. We're having a great time there.
We are. It's incredible. I absolutely love it in there. I love my men and women that are in there that are actively participating, and love to have you be part of it. Wendy, what you got going on this week?
All the things, all the gardening things, all the packaging, and all the technology stuff with the website I'm still working on. I have a particular event that I'm trying to get my business into for the fall. So it's a priority now for me to figure out the pictures and the prettiness of the website and things like that. So that's what my focus is going to be for the next few weeks.
Awesome.
Along with all of the harvesting and, the regular stuff, 'tis the season.
Yes.
How about you?
Same with me, just staying in that garden and doing all the things.
Watching God's beauty.
Yes, it is awesome. All right. Well, we appreciate you all tuning in as always.
Listening, watching, however you're doing it.
Right. And we love you guys. We will see you next week. Don't hesitate to reach out to us if you have any questions or suggestions of topics that you want us to cover.
Thank you.
Have an amazing week. Love y'all.
Love you.